Resident Evil is a survival horror game, you know, if the first 3 games are anything to go by. But if you look at 4, Resident Evil is an action horror game, and so is 5 and 6. But then if you look at 7 and 8, it goes back to survival horror. So is Resident Evil survival horror? Is it action? What's the future of the franchise? Well, we have an answer to that. Resident Evil 9, or Resident Evil Requiem, has just released, and I've been having a blast playing it, and I can't wait to show it to you. But it's kind of an interesting game. Resident Evil Requiem is both a survival horror and an action horror game, and features 2 protagonists. One, the brand new Grace Ashcroft, our survival horror protagonist. Grace is everything that we are, or would be, in a Resident Evil game. She has no outstanding zombie slaying skills, she's terrified at all times, and is constantly thrust into a new strange situation that would make anyone reasonably cry. Our other protagonist is a series staple protagonist, and that protagonist is the veteran zombie slayer, S. Kennedy. Leon serves as the game's action horror hero, as he does in Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 6. Every time you play through the Leon sections of Resident Evil Requiem, you are the Resident Evil. So with 2 protagonists with completely different playstyles, this game aims to serve both audiences, fans of the survival horror genre and fans of the action horror genre, and I think it does it rather well. But before you start to see my gameplay, I kind of want to break down a few things about this game. For instance, the title. Resident Evil is a part we recognize, but what does the word Requiem mean? Requiems are primarily a Catholic idea. It's a sort of composition that honors the dead. If you were to put a former choir boy on the spot, he might say Lux Aeterna or Lacrimosa as a few examples. They are haunting, somber numbers that remind me far too much of my own mortality. I do not like the implications of that for this game. Now I'm going to be honest with you. This is my first time doing something like this, and that means I have fucked up. I've lost the first hour of gameplay, and so you might be a bit confused if you were to just watch my gameplay videos. So I'm going to break down the opening hour of this game. Grace is an FBI technician. She is not a field agent. She is 100% not that bitch. Like me myself. If I were thrust into this game, I would be pissing and crying the whole time. Her boss asks her to go to a now dilapidated hotel, one that she was a guest at in its final hours. On that day, her mom, who seems to be a lot more than she lets on, fucking dies. And her boss is like, I need you to go back to that hotel and get me some answers. And when Grace reasonably expresses fear and an unwillingness to go, her boss says, it's gotta be you, Grace. Which my fiancé keeps saying is kind of a slam dunk for an HR case, and I think I have to agree. Still she goes, and the game officially kicks off with you exploring this hotel as Grace. Grace goes and visits the old room that she and her mother stayed in on her mother's final day. While she's in that room, she gets a phone call from a stranger. This reasonably frightens her, as it would any of us. So she decides she's got to get out of there. But she needs to get one thing before she leaves. Upon finding the floppy disk, Grace is brought face to face with an officer of the law. This police officer was one she met recently, as he tried to stop her before she went into the hotel, but once she showed him her credentials, he allowed her in. And now he's infected. Luckily, Grace manages to escape the police officer and runs off upstairs, where she finds a large, gray-skinned man who stands at about 7'2". This man is, from what I can tell, the series' antagonist, who knocks her out and drags her out into the streets below. He then takes her to a medical facility that he owns and operates. And this is where we switch to our secondary protagonist, Leon Kennedy. If you're a longtime fan of this series, you'll know that this isn't Leon's first Resident Evil. He first appears in Resident Evil 2, a fresh-faced recruit for the Raccoon City Police Department. And he is probably having what could be described as the worst first day of anybody ever. First thing first, he's late. Like, incredibly late. Like, late to your own party at the first day of work late. Like, they have a whole banner up for you, dude. Show some respect. Another thing that's bad is, you can tell, you know, based on how jacked he is now, he probably wasn't hitting the gym as much, and so he's a little bit slimmer. So, you know, he was probably missing out on his pre-work pumps, and so I'd say that's pretty bad. What else is there? What else? Oh yeah, it's the first day of the zombie apocalypse. And even worse still, by the time he gets into work, it looks like he is one of the last surviving Raccoon City Police Department police officers able to do anything about it. By the end of the game, Leon is probably one of the highest ranking members of the RCPD. Not bad in terms of career mobility. Not content to be a beat cop, Leon has gone on to do plenty of amazing things, like be the personal bodyguard of the daughter of the President of the United States of America. And then he goes on to be a top agent for the DSO, the Division of Security Operations. And that's what we saw him doing last in Resident Evil 6. And now here in Resident Evil Requiem, he is still an agent for the DSO. And we see he's been infected by one of the strains of the many viruses going around in the Resident Evil universe. Which means he needs a cure, which leads him to cross paths with Grace as she's being abducted by the big bad. Leon sees this, and shenanigans ensue. Look, cards on the table, I'm brand new to making content and doing all the editing and technical work required to make it look good. In a perfect world, I wouldn't have to give you a recap of the first 2 chapters of a game that I'm playing through. I would just be able to show you my playthrough of those 2 chapters. But alas, even I have my flaws. My audio might be poor, my video quality might be piss, my editing might be shit, and to be honest, I haven't really settled on a way to record the playthrough. It's got a couple of times where it's cut in weird ways. Maybe I have the camera on, maybe I don't. Yeah, so I'm still figuring that out. As a matter of fact, in the first video, I edited out all the swearing because I thought YouTube might find it demonetizable. By the second video, I gave up on editing all the swearing. I just didn't fucking care. It took too long and I didn't want to do all that work. So I won't be doing that for the rest of the run. Only the first video is censored. All that to say, while acting is in my wheelhouse, technical work isn't. Please bear with me as I figure it out, and maybe one day we can all laugh about this when I'm YouTube famous. Now, I'm beyond excited to share with you this next installment of one of my favorite horror games ever. So be on the lookout for the playthrough videos dropping soon, and I'll try and link them in the bio or maybe put them somewhere on screen. But like I said, I don't know how to do all this techno wizardry, so it's probably not going to be there. One last thing. Thanks for visiting your pal Al.
Thanks for watching.